Hi, this is Gerardo, Communication Director of Prismatics, and here we are at the 14th edition of the Risk Management Training Conference. We have the pleasure and the honor of having with us John Lothian from John Lothian News. John, if you can introduce yourself to our audience.
I'm John Lothian. I am the chairman and CEO of John J. Lothian and Company, and I am the publisher of John Lothian News.
John, I guess my first question is, why John Lothian News? What purpose does it serve in a media landscape that is so full of outlets and information services, etc.?
Well, it started when I was a broker, and I was running an online trading operation for the Price Futures Group out of Chicago. I was competing with other brokerage firms, and so it was a viral marketing experiment in order to kind of elevate my firm. And it worked, and it was a phenomenon. And it grew to the point where I turned it into a business. And the challenge at the time was the open outcry trading floors were being challenged by electronic trading. And so this was a train that was going to come and run everybody over on the on the open outcry floors. And so they needed to know about what was going on and the risks that they had. And so that was the original purpose, to inform my customers, to inform people within the industry what was going on. And there wasn't really any publication at the time that had the velocity of publication to keep up with the velocity of news that was happening. And so I started a daily newsletter that focused on non-price-oriented risk that was really blogging before blogging was called blogging. And so I was a unicorn. I was unique, and it just became a central thing within the derivative space, particularly as we went through that whole battle between open outcry and electronic trading, and I captured the imaginations of people in Chicago and around the world about that. And then the other things, demutualization and globalization of the markets and algorithmic trading and high frequency trading and new products and regulations and, all kinds of different non-price oriented risks that we had. And there really wasn't anybody covering that specifically like I was. And so I carved out an audience, and in 2010-11, I went independent and left my brokerage career behind and became a full-time media organization at that point. I incorporated in 2003, launched other newsletters, an environmental newsletter, FX, managed futures, all those kinds of things. The big thing that we did, though, that really put us on the board, that really created a company and a culture, was in 2007, we started work on a project that we launched in 2008 called MarketsWiki. And this was using the software from Wikipedia to build a global knowledge base about the markets. And that allowed people from the industry, to find information a lot quicker about things. Newspapers were dying at the time. They were bankrupt. They were strategically lost. And we were trying to build a whole new media model of different things. And we just kept trying new things. We really had the DNA of the futures and the derivatives industry, which was innovation. And so we just kept trying new things as new opportunities and new technologies, came in front of us. And whether that's electronic trading when I became an electronic trading pioneer, or whether that's using AI today.
You mentioned Open Outcry. Few people still remember that or know how it looked like. What have you noticed all over all these years in the development of audiences? Are audiences more knowledgeable, better prepared to consume financial news now than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years?
Well, I recently, in December, had lunch with Bob Pisani of CNBC, who just retired. Spent 35 years down on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And he was working for them as a real estate reporter, but he really wanted to be in stocks, and he got there just at when things started to take off as the whole NASDAQ thing began. And so you saw from the time that people could invest in things that were happening, new technologies like that, that there was a tremendous amount of interest in them. And these were things that people had knowledge of, and whether they were engineers or whether they were software developers or whatever, or that they were taking advantage of, getting on the internet and saw the possibilities of the internet. And so, the internet opened up the news game for us. When I got into the industry, okay, people used to send out newsletters on a Friday to their customers with the hope that it would get to them over the weekend and they would read it and then have their trading recommendations for the next week. I mean, we were using the U.S. mail, okay? So we've gone from that to instant communication. And so the information that the brokers used to have, the customers now have. And quite frankly, the floor traders used to have great information, okay? And then the customers had even better information because of the internet than the floor traders. And so they were put at an advantage there too. And today with the things that you see, when Twitter was at its peak, you'd have these services that were scraping Twitter and giving, trading sentiments and all this kind of thing. And there's still algorithms that are running off of that for trading and that. So they're taking the news that's available and turning it directly into trading decisions.
Okay. We are in an event dedicated to education, not only talks or conferences. How important do you think these events of education are still relevant today with all that information available? Why take the time and effort and take 3 or 4 days to grow personally and to dedicate to personal education and actualization? Why is it important for professionals in finance?
There's nothing like getting together with other professionals in your field and sharing what you know or what you're seeing, and whether that's in a session or whether that's in an informal setting at a coffee bar or in an elevator, there's just nothing like that. And that's been the history of events from the very beginning. At the Chicago Board of Trade, there was an event that was held after World War II, where they had a bunch of agricultural economists that came, and they gave out an award for the best paper, and gave them like $2,500 or $3,000 for the best paper. But the best part of the whole conference was when they spent time at the Union League Club in Chicago at the bar, collaborating and talking about all the different papers and sharing what they did. And those papers built the academic basis of our future markets that allowed us to build financial futures in the 70s and 80s. Okay. So people getting together and sharing and collaborating and all of that has historically been valuable, and I believe is still valuable today.
Okay. Well, John, thank you very much for your words and your thoughts on this, and hope you enjoyed the Risk Management Trading Conference.
Thank you for having me.
This has been John Lothian from John Lothian News at the Risk Management Trading Conference 2025. Thank you very much.